Do you know why the United States seemed to turn a blind eye to China's development in the past 30 years, allowing China to grow into today's superpower? This mystery not only troubles the strategic think tanks of the United States, but also puzzles the whole world. It was not until 2017 that the United States officially positioned China as a strategic competitor. In the long decades before that, China achieved leapfrog development in a relatively relaxed international environment. This can't help but raise many questions. Is it that the United States suddenly found its conscience and showed mercy to China? Or is it that the American elite collectively lost their minds and could not foresee the potential dangers that China's rise may bring? In fact, the United States has not shown mercy to China in the past 30 years. Nor is it out of so-called goodwill. Nor is it short-sighted. Behind this is actually a global game carefully planned by the United States. However, this chess game has gradually slipped out of the control of the United States. Hello everyone, I am Nanshan. Today, let us unveil the veil of history and explore the truth behind it. First of all, everyone should know that in the 1980s, the United States faced two major competitors, the Soviet Union and Japan. Japan's comprehensive rise in the fields of automobiles, home appliances, chips, etc. made the United States feel uneasy. At its peak, Japan claimed that the total value of Tokyo's land could buy the entire United States. The crazy rumor reflected the real danger when Japan's GDP was close to 60% of the United States. This also made the United States realize that if it allowed Japan to develop, its hegemony would be in jeopardy. Therefore, the United States passed the Plaza Accord, causing Japan's bubble to burst, the economy to collapse, and export manufacturing to be hit hard in the next 6 years. Almost at the same time, the Soviet Union began to disintegrate, and the United States was immersed in the victory carnival of the end of history. At that time, China's GDP was less than 1/10 of Japan's. In Washington's eyes, China was just a backward agricultural country that needed poverty alleviation. If the United States chose to deal with China at that time, it would be almost easy. The historical turning point came in 1993 when the European Union was established. A super economy with a total GDP comparable to that of the United States. When the euro was launched in 1999, the proportion of Eurozone trade settlements quickly climbed to 35%, directly threatening the dollar's dominance as the world currency. The U.S. strategic focus then shifted to Europe. The Kosovo War in 1999 caused the euro to plummet by 30% against the U.S. dollar. The Iraq War in 2003 destroyed the oil-euro settlement system. In 2008, the European debt crisis was triggered by rating agencies. Under this combination of punches, the euro's share of international payments dropped sharply from 44% at its peak to below 20%. It was during the window period when the United States was fully committed to curbing the European Union that China seized the once-in-a-lifetime development opportunity. During the Taiwan Strait crisis in 1996, although the U.S. 7th Fleet had an absolute advantage in the military, it chose strategic restraint because it was afraid that the European Union would make spare efforts. The decision to agree to China's accession to the WTO in 2001 was essentially a three-birds-with-one-stone strategy by Washington, which not only used China's cheap goods to suppress the Eurozone's export competitiveness, but also locked China in the low-end manufacturing link through the division of labor in the industrial chain, and achieved wealth through financial means. China's trade structure of exchanging 800 million shirts for a Boeing aircraft, coupled with the closed-loop design of using foreign exchange reserves to purchase U.S. debt, perfectly meets the short-term arbitrage needs of U.S. capital groups. This carefully designed cycle of dollars to commodities reached its peak during the 2008 financial crisis, when the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers triggered global panic. China's $1.9 trillion in foreign exchange reserves became the cornerstone of stabilizing the market. The $4 trillion economic stimulus plan not only prevented the world economy from falling into the abyss, but also unexpectedly activated a supermarket with a population of 1.4 billion. In 2010, China's industrial output value surpassed that of the United States, a leap that was once estimated to take 25 years to achieve. In fact, it took only 9 short years. When Made in China 2025 and Industry 4.0 came into direct contact in the field of intelligent manufacturing. When Huawei's 5G patent technology surpassed Qualcomm, and SMIC broke through the 7-nanometer chip process. The United States was shocked to realize that the former sweatshop had transformed into an innovation engine. In 2017, the Trump administration suddenly listed China as a strategic competitor, and trade wars, technology wars, and financial wars were launched in full swing. However, the balance of the game has quietly tilted at this time, and the gap between China's GDP and that of the United States has continued to narrow. Not only that, China also accounts for 70% of the world's smartphones, 80% of photovoltaic modules, and 90% of personal computer production capacity. The degree of dependence on U.S. technology has dropped from 89% in 2000 to 32% in 2020. After decades of development, China has finally changed from a follower to a runner-up, or even a zero-runner. Today, standing at a new time node and looking back at the past, the United States' strategic misjudgment has led to today's situation. They originally wanted to use China to balance the European Union and Japan. But they did not expect China to rise so quickly. The essence of this strategic dilemma is the cycle rate that the capitalist system cannot overcome. That is, the pursuit of short-term interests by financial capital will inevitably suppress the long-term considerations of strategic rationality. When China took 40 years to complete the industrialization road that it hoped to take 200 years, the Americans finally realized that they were not competing with a certain country, but confronting the historical wisdom accumulated by 5,000 years of civilization. Finally, I want to say that this unique resilience of civilization has enabled China to rise in adversity and move forward in the face of challenges. It is not luck or accident. It is not that the United States has allowed China to rise, but that the Oriental dragon should have hovered at the top of the world. History will eventually prove that the revival of the East is not a transfer of hegemony, but a new starting point for the coexistence of multiple civilizations. What do you think about this?